Hello, I'm Steve Friedman, Senior Macroeconomist at Mackay Shields. Welcome to our latest edition of Forward Guidance, recorded on January 28th, right after Chair Powell's post-FOMC press conference. Coming into the meeting, markets were discounting no change to the policy rate today, given that the committee signaled a pause after their December rate cut. That was certainly my expectation as well. And so what I was mainly looking for today were any indications of how long this pause might last and what conditions might lead the committee to resume easing at a later point. The changes to the policy statement suggest that the committee could be on hold for at least several meetings. The committee upgraded slightly their current assessment of the economy, stating that the economy has been expanding at a solid pace compared to a moderate pace at the December meeting. The statement also acknowledged some improvement in labor market data and removed language that had previously highlighted downside risks to employment. And so, if labor market risks had kept the committee in easing mode late last year, then a diminishment of those risks suggests the committee could remain on hold for some time, especially with no clear signs of inflation moderating. Powell's press briefing hit on similar themes. He came across as quite upbeat on the outlook. In his prepared remarks, he noted that the economy is coming into 2026 on a firm footing with resilient consumer spending. And he went on to comment in the Q&A that solid economic performance will matter for labor demand and employment over time. That certainly captures why the committee believes that risks to employment have diminished. Further, he noted that beyond the two dissents in favor of a 25 basis point rate cut, there was broad support for today's decision to remain on hold, including among non-voters. And he also stated that the policy rate is within a range of plausible estimates of neutral. To me, all of this suggests an extended hold by the committee. With a solid economy, fiscal easing in the pipeline, and labor demand stabilizing, there is really no reason to cut at present. And this is especially the case with board staff projecting that year-over-year core PCE inflation likely ended 2025 at 3%, exactly where it was at the end of 2024. In fact, my own view is that the committee will remain on hold throughout this year. I remain constructive on the growth outlook, and I think this will feed through to an improvement in labor demand as the year progresses. That should keep the committee on hold, especially if I'm correct that there is very little improvement in the inflation picture as 2026 unfolds. I will also note that in real terms, that is adjusting the policy rate for inflation, the policy stance is already at the meeting committee participants' implied estimate of the neutral real policy rate, and possibly even slightly below. Of course, there are expectations in the market that the next Fed chair will lead the committee in a more dovish direction. This can be seen in money market futures. The market implied probability of a rate cut jumps from about 25% at the April meeting to about 75% at the June meeting, which would be the next chair's first meeting at the helm of the FOMC. But I think a number of Reserve Bank presidents, including some 2026 voters, have made clear their concerns about lingering inflation risks. And it is also not at all clear to me that there would be broad support for a rate cut among the governors by the June meeting. It will take time for a new chair to build a consensus around their policy preferences, and with the lingering inflation concerns and what I expect will be solid economic performance, I just don't see a case for a rate cut anytime soon. I think that for all practical purposes, the easing cycle is over, or at the very least, the committee is on a very extended pause. And that wraps up this edition of Forward Guidance. I will be back with my colleague Michael De Palma in a few weeks' time for our typical mid-FOMC cycle dive into markets. Thank you.